success, going somewhere to happen. Don't allow anything stop you on the way. Not failure, not criticism. Don't bury yourself because you failed. Failure is not funeral. Bye-bye for now and have a beautiful day.
All right, you're welcome back from that heart-to-heart inspirational with Ramsey Enoch Agbo, my co-host, by the way, and hope you are well inspired. Now, at about this time is the newspaper review segment, and we're going to be starting with the first paper of the day on the newspaper review segment. And basically, we're going to tilt towards the first paper of the day, but let's quickly go on a very quick break. Global Morning continues shortly. Stay tuned.
All right, everyone. The first paper for us today is the Punch newspaper. And the Punch newspaper, we have this headline. Above the nameplate, xenophobia. Minister meets South Africa and envoy after Tinubu snub. Of course, I wasn't surprised anyway. Then the nice headline here says Senate defends boss preaching bill amid public backlash. Obi Kwankwaso ticket sparks fresh NNPP NDC showdown. 30 killed, houses burnt in fresh Kaduna terror attack. The big story says fake agency probe. House faces pressure to summon Bajabia Mila. Let it not just be the embattled DG alone that is invited. Everyone involved in the case should also be investigated. That's the reason a lot of people were asking for independent investigation. Some riders to that story. Actually, let's look at the few riders that we have here. 3 of them. Reps order IGP to produce controversial DG at DME within 48 hours. Calls grow to invite Chief of Staff Akume over 400 million naira bribery claim and others. And of course, this one says no funds released despite approvals. Accountant General tells Rep. All right, it's getting more interesting. 2 killed, 3 rescued. 2 killed, 3 rescued in Anambra student hostel collapse. And of course, we have this one which says Speaker's impeachment. Ondo lawmakers issued fresh ultimatum, accuses Ayedatiwa Nigeria woman dies of cardiac arrest during UK visit. A 5.7 billion naira probe court adjourned trial of ex Kwara Governor and Commissioner. Those are the headlines for you on the Punch newspaper this morning. And from the Punch, we take a stroll to the Daily Independent this morning for you. On the Daily Independent, we also have some very interesting headlines. Above the nameplate still, we have this one which says reps give IGP 48 hours to produce fake agency DG at Denier. 2027 polls are called to hear suit seeking Tinubu's protection for Peter Obi. Tinubu's protection for Peter Obi. PFIPC sought 27.4 billion naira grant using forged State House letter. AGF court rules Amotekun lacks power to declare anyone wanted. Court declared that Amotekun does not have the power to declare anyone wanted. Details of that you can find on page 7. Senate denies a street preaching ban in FRSC Act amendment. Plateau records 14 cholera deaths, over 400 suspected cases. All right, this one says Nigeria's economy projected for stronger second half of 2026 growth. And this one is saying another thing right here. As a matter of fact, another wonderful headline still from there. Nigeria's economy projected for stronger growth in the second half of 2026. The big story: FAN asked to bear 20 billion naira annual cost of bed strike. I saw this story this morning and I was like, oh, all right, maybe there could be reasons for that. Whatever the reason is, I think is best known to the people proposing this. A police rebel bandit attack in Sokoto recover ammunition. That is page 7 is where you can get that detail. Our next point of call would be the Hope. Let's look at the Hope newspaper and see the headlines that we
All right,
have.
now the Hope newspaper, above the nameplate, it says Ondo APC inaugurates reconciliation committee, and of course the writer says targets 1 million votes for Tinubu in 2027. Beside that, it says 48-hour order, reps want alleged fake agency DG produced. And we have one writer to that read, and it says police confirm fraud charges as lawmakers probe alleged forged documents, 1.32 billion naira budget allocation. And of course, the star story on the Hope newspaper says 2027, Ayedatiwa remains committed to APC, says Ondo government. And we have two writers there. Says Attorney General Ajulu says government's interaction with opposition person in church is no anti-party. And the next writer says accusation employed to manufacture controversy, CPS. Now, of course, below that, it says Ondo moved to secure land for multi-billion-dollar oil palm project. And on the foot of the Hope newspaper, before we get to the last write-up, it says 30 killed as bandits attack Kaduna village, and that's from reports. Many students fear trapped as three-story building hostel collapses in Anambra. Very sad read there. FG warns Red Sea crisis threatens global oil supply trade. No drug trafficker will escape justice, and that's from Marwa Vows. And basically, those are all the major headlines on the Hope newspaper. Go out and get yourself a copy and be well informed with the major issues making round. Next, we have the Vanguard.
On the Vanguard newspaper this morning, we have some headlines. Above the nameplate reason says sugar, that's the kicker. Nigeria risk losing African market over high production cost. Tinubu to announce fresh pay increase for soldiers soon, Defense Minister. New minimum wage, 70,000 naira poverty pay, NLC is the one saying that headline is attributed to NLC. Maladi rolls out MNAPS to operationalize law codes. All right, if you want to get more details, page 29 is where you find that. Xenophobia. Tinubu snubs Ramaphosa's envoy. The writer says as federal government demands early warning pacts ratification. ADC raises alarm over intimidation of opposition parties in Rivers. Details on page 14, and on page 7 we have the story which says students others fear death as hostel collapses in Anambra, 30 killed in southern Kaduna as residents flee Chawal. And now the big story here is still about, of course, the PFIPC. This one says how PFIPC was created. Accountant General is the one saying that. Then one writer to that story. Reps summon Adeyemi ordered IGP to produce him tomorrow. And those are the headlines for you today on the Vanguard newspaper. Coming up next is the Nigerian News Direct.
All right, now the Nigerian News Direct on Global Morning. It says here above the nameplate, it says Lagos wins Africa's Best Green Bond Award for 14,815 insurance. And it says law restricting preaching in buses, not a new provision. And that's from Bamidele, and that read you will find on page 12. INEC office attack, speaker's allegation misleading. Thugs are his associates, and that's from Oshun APC alleges. And of course, the star story on the Nigerian News Direct, it says Adeyemi forged State House letter, intercepted correspondences, and that's from AGF tells rep, and that's on page 2. And on page, moving on this, okay, quickly now, it says here, below that, it says, fugitive drug kingpin, ex-international footballer bagged 24 years jail term for cocaine importation. And you wonder what went wrong with the international footballer. And that read you will find on page 7. And it says 44 billion naira NSIPA fraud. I never transferred funds to private accounts, and that's from Halima Shehu. And that read you will find on page 10. And it says FG commences repairs on Kara Bridge, July 28th. That read is on page 2. And please go out and get yourself a copy of the Nigerian News Direct to be well informed with the major issues making round. Next we have This Day.
This day newspaper this morning have these headlines. AFDB, the Super El Nino may cost Nigeria, Africa up to $20 billion, trigger mass migration. We have some riders to that story, and the first rider here says oil price slide as US-Iran pause hostility over Strait of Hormuz. Shetima lauds AFDB as REASAPZ sign memorandum of understanding on energy for agro-processing zones. And of course, more headlines for you here this morning. The big story, insecurities to Kika. After creating 4 new divisions, federal government plans fresh pay rise for military. That's good. A lot of people have talked about that over and over again. Pledges support for widows and spouses of frontline troops. That's the rider to that story. The event happened yesterday. And those are the headlines for you on this day newspaper. Coming up next is Daily Sun.
All right, down the Daily Sun newspaper, close to the side of the nameplate, it says here, tension in Kaduna over murder of 30, and we have 3 riders there. Enough is enough. Sakopo, killing tragic, unacceptable. Kaduna government, Atiku tackles FG, and that's on page 26. And below that, briefly, says PFIPC reps give IGP till tomorrow to produce Adeyemi. And the star story on the Daily Sun says xenophobic attack, Tinubu snubs South African president's envoy. And the writer says demands early warning mechanism rectification. And at the foot of that, it says Oshun Gubber, 13 local governments identified as flashpoints. And the rider on page 26 and 27 says, a delegate declares today work-free day for PVC collection. And on page 4, it says, fugitive drug kingpin, ex-international footballer back 24 years jail term for cocaine importation. UNODC, NDLEA, and NUJ seek stringent action against drug abuse. And on page 27, it says, Tinubu to deliver 10 more FCT projects before December. And that's from Wike. Vows clampdown on illegal street racing in Abuja residential areas. I think that's a step in the right direction. It's very dangerous, street racing. On page 27, it says, no plenary until Speaker resigns on those Speaker. And basically, those are all the major news making the headlines on the Daily Sun. Go out and get yourself a copy and be well informed of the major issues making rounds. Next, we have The Guardian.
All right. I think this is going to be the size of the headlines this morning because of our time. Ogochukwu Mobono is already standing by. Thank you, everyone, for being part of the newspaper review this morning. I want to inform you that Global Television does not have editorial contribution to the various headlines brought to you this morning. It's entirely that of the newspaper houses and their editors. We'll take a quick break. After this break, we'll bring you Social Buzz by Ogochukwu Mobono. Stay with us.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Osoro.
On Global Television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust a multi-platform news broadcast, real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
At Wichtech Cables, we don't just make cables, we deliver excellence. Our products are built with advanced technology, trusted for their unmatched quality and durability. With a wide range of cables, swift delivery, and continuous innovation, we stay ahead of the market demand. We are proudly Nigerian, fully indigenous, yet world-class. Backed by a professional team, strong technical support, and a deep commitment to customer satisfaction. Wichtech Cables is more than a brand, it's a promise. Wichtech Cables, quality cables better than the best.
At Erojim Shoe Factory, excellence starts from the ground up.
located at number 1 Pound Road behind Nigeria Correctional Service, Aba, Abia State. We produce 1,500 high-quality shoes every single day. Paramilitary shoes, safety boots, desert boots, ankle shoes, back-to-school footwear, all crafted with state-of-the-art equipment and built for strength, comfort, and durability. For reliable footwear that stands the test of time, choose Aerogym shoes for better product, strong steps, smart style. For inquiries, call 091-264-53399 or 070-3009-3944 or 080-6573-8374 or call 081-3167-3668. Email info@aerogym.com. Website www.aerogymdesign.com. Aerogym. Walk with confidence. Walk with pride.
When social media speaks, we listen and we bring you the extra. It's your one-stop shop for trends, tweets, and the tea everyone's sipping on. Join the conversation, share your thoughts, and get that extra dose of what's shaking the internet.
And on the issues making wave on social media to your doorstep.
Social Boss Extra, where the trend meets the talk, only on Global TV.
Good morning, Nigerians and viewers around the world. It's time to look at what's on the issues on social media. Today we're looking at siblings lock elder sister out of mom's funeral over money disputes. Family drama has sparked outrage after siblings allegedly prevented their elder sister and her guests from entering their mother's funeral venue over a disagreement about burial expenses. According to reports, the siblings demanded that their elder sister contribute 2.5 million naira towards hiring the event hall. However, the woman, said to be a single civil servant, explained that she could not afford such an amount and instead contributed what was within her means. The situation reportedly escalated on the day of the funeral, with the siblings refusing to allow her and her guests into the venue because she did not meet their financial demand. In a heartbreaking turn of events, the woman was left standing outside in the rain with her guests and reportedly served them food from the trunk of a car, turning what should have been a day of mourning into a painful family conflict. The incident has since triggered widespread reactions online, with many Nigerians debating whether financial contribution should ever come before family, especially during a parent's final farewell. Well, that's the video there, and let's take a look at some comments from social media. The first comment today we're taking is from Lady Joycey, and Lady Joycey says, "There's high chance their mother enabled their behavior. The disrespect of their elder sister didn't start today." All right, thank you, Joycey. Next one is coming from Noble Tina, and Tina says, "As siblings, you should cover the shame of your sibling who aren't doing well financially." The last but not the least is coming from Priceless Jewel, and Priceless Jewel says, "If the late mom respected her as a civil servant and a single mother, there's no reason the siblings would treat her that way. She enabled her other children's behavior towards their sister." So sad, because a lot of firstborn in general, are really going through a kind of disrespect. Somehow they were trained to be mothers even at a young age, and I really did not see this coming. Well, I would like us to take a look at that video again and listen to some of the commentaries from the guests.
Locked her outside. They did not allow her. They did not allow her to enter. They pursue her. They pursue her like guests. They were under the rain as we are speaking. Is this one good thing? These are not heart of wickedness. Then if God is punishing them tomorrow now, they'll be catching witchcraft. And God will punish them for what they have done. See, they locked their sister outside with their guests. Look at her, she's sharing food under the rain inside the boat. They did not allow her to enter inside the hall. Do you see the heart? You see, look at them. Obey. What is her name? I said, not pay. You see hearts of men as they are wicked. These are simply so because they came from abroad. Senior sister, their elder sister. Look at their elder sister. Sharing food under the rain. She received a guest under the rain. Have you seen this kind of thing before? They not allowed our guests to enter the hall. They locked her outside. You see the heart of wickedness. You see her. This is their elder sister. Obey and their peace and the sayomore and who again? They locked them outside. They locked their elder sister. They locked their elder sister outside. You see how wicked people are. I said, let me just say the whole world though. What people are doing. You see what they are doing. When that video, when we call the sick. You see, you send it to me. I'll give you my number now so that you send it to me. You see what they have done. They are outside where we are under the rain. She's under the rain. She doesn't get it. Not that she did not contribute though. She paid part of the money they asked her to pay. They not lock her outside. You see what people are doing. You see her? Okay. Okay. I said, let me tell you, people should say your view. Please, whosoever that come across this video, you should help me to spread it. You should spread it. Let it go viral and see the wickedness of people. The way they can do.
All right, so that from Edo State, Nigeria, and I see this as just wickedness because there is no extent that nothing should make you say you are locking your sister out of her own mother's funeral. Whatever it is, whatever dispute you must have had, this is her last chance to send her mom back to the Lord in peace. Shouldn't be deprived of this. This is heartlessness. This is wickedness. And just like someone said in one of the comments, I think the mother enabled it, but I don't want to blame the dead right now. Well, I'm not alone today. In the studio, I have with me Chumai Mansin. Good morning, Chumai.
Good morning.
This morning when you saw this video,
I was very angry. I was very upset.
What do you think about it?
Let's start from the root now. Okay. The truth of the matter is that's why parents should be guided. I always say, I learned it really, really early. I learned it from my own parents. You never show siblings who you love more or who you dislike or whatever. You have to show them equal love. Very important. And that is why I'm starting from the root, the foundation now. And that is why I am so in love with our values, our moral, our traditions. Back in the day, even when my elder brother, Dejiba, made me angry, I will have to apologize because I even spoke back. You must apologize. Oh my goodness, that's the kind of family I am from. The younger one must give respect to the elder. He doesn't, even when he's 1 year old. Even when he's even going to come and say, okay, come, or you're sorry. But I must say sorry. First. That's the upbringing. And then parents must always learn to bring their children together. You must teach it. And that was why back in the day, our parents loved that eating in the same plate. Eating in the same plate doesn't mean there was not enough food. But because it brings love, togetherness, and there's a bond that comes with it.
Very true. So
that is the foundation now. So those comments, I completely agree. If the mother, may her soul rest in peace, did the needful when she was alive, will not face this issue of what the siblings had the effrontery, the guts to do. It doesn't matter whether this one has so much money or the one that. No, you must learn to cover yourselves. I always I'll use my family as an example. Ogo, my brother, I tell them, okay, because Noah is a doctor, I'm a doctor. Because Noah is a doctor, so you have to be happy with everyone. Be happy and celebrate. Support and celebrate. They had no right. One, she's a single mom. Two, she contributed. It's not like she didn't bring anything at all. From the car, you could see that she had souvenirs and food. At least she brought something. They would have covered her, no one would have even known what was going on.
I think this is an entitlement mentality that is on with a lot of siblings. So many siblings just be like, you are the elder, so you should be the one providing for us.
And it's so wrong.
It's very wrong.
It's so wrong.
Very wrong.
And this set of siblings will actually forget that maybe at a point in their life, this thing was there for them. She was there. She took, you know, we watch all these movies where you see how the older siblings, that's the adult of the family, carries the burden.
Yes, automatically becomes their mother.
Exactly.
Most of them become mothers at very young age, maybe when they know that their parents cannot cater for their siblings.
Exactly.
They go into different businesses. Some of them even drop out of school just to make sure that the young ones go to school. So I'm sure that it must have been the case of this.
Exactly.
As a civil servant, she wouldn't want her siblings to suffer. So one way or the other, she must have contributed to their education or business in one way or the other.
And then it works in another way. For as much as we do not know the depth of this story, I want to be on the fence and be balanced. It could be that the elder sibling has entitlement issues whereby since her sisters have money, they can provide and do all of that. But it didn't look like that because she had some things in her boots and all that. So no matter what the situation is, because of the death at that point, shove aside every other thing. Let this day be a glorious day so people can be happy. Now they won't remember that they are celebrating. They remember the fact that they threw their elder sister out of the venue. That is the remembrance of this particular day that's supposed to be happy, because the woman lived a life
she lived up to 90 years.
She was happy. So, but at the same time, that burial will be remembered with what those, and you cannot erase that.
You can't erase it.
It's not going in a hurry very soon. They would have just let it aside. Whatever grievances they have after the whole thing, they will come together as a family away from the public eye and come and talk about it. It's just unfortunate that this is where we are. The disrespect that comes with entitlement, disrespect that comes with family issues in the public, the disrespect that comes with no regard for who is the senior, no regard. It doesn't matter. You can actually settle it out of the public eye, but it's just unfortunate that this is what it is, and the entitlement mentality, and when wealth takes over love, care, support, togetherness, bond, this is what you get. And of course, when there is competition, this is what you get. And it's just when there is competition in family, and that is why parents must learn to show love equally to their children and explain to them that if one is doing well, if one is not doing well, try as much as possible to support. Because there are some siblings that you cannot even ask your siblings for money, you rather ask someone else for money, and it's not supposed to be so. It is wrong. Why can't you ask your siblings for money? Why? Why can't I ask my other brother for money? Like
my go-to person is
like in the university every minute. Bros D, what's up? Sorry, money, and you say, hey, Juma, you've come again.
That's why I'm your younger sister.
Exactly. So it's just unfortunate that this is what it is. When there is competition in the home front, and when the love is not equal, you show that okay, these ones that are doing well are my. Because some mothers, some parents are like that. The ones that are doing well are my own. The ones that are not doing well are. No, it's wrong. Everyone should be loved equally, and no matter the status of any younger or older person, you must give respect to your elder brother or elder sister because they came first. So
very true.
Yeah.
Now I see why some persons will tell you they do not want to do business with family. They don't want to bring family into business because most times when it comes to money, there's always a dispute. There's always a problem.
Yes.
When you have to bring your family. I don't get that with my own siblings. I don't know. But maybe that's because of the way we were brought up.
I'm telling you.
I remember then before you go to school, my dad would always call all of us after prayers in the morning and advise us to be, as one. So he uses this broomstick and also the bunch of broom as an example. He said, you see this broomstick, you can break it. But you see this bunch, you can't break all of them. So if you remain together, they can't break you. And it has been in my mind for a very long time. I have grown with that, and if only we can learn that and invite that into our lives, all of this wouldn't have happened. Thank you so much once again, Chumo Mansi, for your contribution. You're always the best person when it comes to family issue. This is the go-to person, whenever you have a show, just make sure that you are there. You want to learn very well. Anyway, guys,
thank God it's not relationship advice, whatever. You're always bringing me on, like you're giving me a title.
No, you are the go-to person when it comes to that. Well, this is how much you can take. Once again, thank you, Jumoy, for your contribution.
You're welcome.
Today on the show. Social Buzz on Global Morning. Until I come your way next time, I am Ogochukumobno. Please stay with us as Ramsey and Jumai will usher us into the discussion section of Global Morning. Good morning once again, Nigerians and viewers around the world. Bye for now.
When social media speaks, we listen and we bring you the extra. It's your one-stop shop for trends, tweets, and the tea everyone's sipping on. Join the conversation, share your thoughts, and get that extra dose of what's shaking the internet.
And on issues making wave on social media to your doorstep.
Social Buzz Extra, where the trend meets the talk, only on Global TV.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Usoro.
On global television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust a multi-platform news broadcast, real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
At Wichtech Cables, we don't just make cables, we deliver excellence. Our product
It's time for us to bring you the first conversation for the day as we look at sustainable Nigeria. That's what everyone is praying for. And this is the responsibility of everyone, but we would always have people at the forefront to do this. And today on the program, driving this conversation with us today is someone who is, of course, a founder of an NGO, Caleb Danladi Foundation, and he is Dr. Caleb Danladi. It's good to have you join us on the program this morning, Doc.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for coming, Doctor.
You're welcome.
Let's get into the conversation. Sustainable Nigeria, the role of NGOs in nation building and economic growth. As a matter of fact, there are so much that these NGOs are doing. And of course, they don't wait for the government. They don't wait for individuals. They go ahead to do it. How do you think the activities of non-governmental organizations can bring sustainability in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you very much for this important question. So the role of NGOs in nation building cannot be underestimated, because NGOs play a very, very crucial role when it comes to national building and human capital development. So first and foremost, let's ask, why do NGO exist? It's a very important question. Until we know why NGO exists, we cannot be able to quantify the role of NGO when it comes to national building. And one of the reasons why NGO exists, one, is to address social problems in the society. Social problems result from poverty, inequality, it results from lack of social amenities, education, and also address issues of shortcoming when it comes to infrastructural in the community. And another reason why NGO exists is basically to bridge the gap, because the government alone cannot do a lot. The NGO are there to complement the government effort. Another crucial reason why NGO exists, when you look at humanitarian crisis. During humanitarian crisis, the NGO provide their own support. They tackle the issue of food insecurity, they tackle the issue of drought, they tackle a lot of issues when it comes to victims of circumstances. Also, NGO exists, one is advocacy and good governance. So without NGOs, most of the challenges that we are having when it comes to human rights will not be there, because NGOs also include CSOs. So they advocate for good governance, they teach citizens about their rights, they teach citizens about equality in the society. Another reason, crucial, why NGO exists is for community development. So community development is very, very important and crucial, because some of the underserved communities are being left behind, and the government cannot reach all those communities. So the NGO exists to help to bridge the gap by providing social amenities. And if you go to a lot of communities today, you can see visible projects that have been undertaken by NGOs, such as hospital, school, reconstruction. They have renovated a lot of hospitals, they have donated a lot of relief materials to the community, they have provided clean and potable water to the community. And again, the NGO exists also to support the less privileged and also to bridge the inequality gap. We have a lot of people living with disability. We have a lot of people that are passing through one challenge or the other in the community. The NGO are there to bridge that gap. And more importantly, health. We are talking about nation building. If you are not healthy, you cannot be able to contribute to nation building. So the NGO are there also to support when it comes to health and well-being. They support in areas of vaccination, health insurance. They support in advocacy for different type of communicable disease. They also support when it comes to health infrastructure in the community. They have also been a forefront for advocacy for vaccination. If you look at the malaria today, well, we have malaria, but not like before. The NGOs have always been at the forefront to support in fight against malaria, fight against HIV and other communicable diseases. So the NGO has done remarkably well. Now, back to your question about the role of NGO in national building. The NGOs has played a very, very crucial role when it comes to national building. One, when we talk about education and human capital development, the NGO have always been on the forefront to support education by providing sponsorship, by renovating schools, by advocating for subjects like STEM education, which is the foundation, for innovation, by also supporting the young people with all the necessary skills they need to thrive in the community today. So by doing so, they invest on human capital development, and they are going to provide potentials and opportunity for those beneficiaries. Those beneficiaries, through the NGO, they are going to contribute to national development. Now, let's look at the issue of tackling poverty and also financial literacy support. The NGO have always been on the forefront to support the less privileged in the society by providing seed and startup grant for them to set up business. And most of these entrepreneurs have been successful. They ended up employing other people. They also generate revenue. They pay taxes. And by so doing, they contribute to the nation building, which is very important. Let's also look at the issue of health and well-being, because like I mentioned earlier, if you have workforce that are not healthy, they cannot be able to contribute to the national building. So the NGO have always been on the forefront to advocate for vaccine. Today, the case of polio is a theme of the past. But if you have multiple cases of polio, what do you have? You have a lot of people that are living with disability, which is not really good for nation building. So what the NGOs have done a lot when it comes to health and well-being. You look at HIV treatment today, it's very expensive. But the government, the NGOs have always been on the forefront with the government. They complement the government effort by supporting the victims with all the drugs they need to sustain them. Now, we are talking about the cost of health today in the society. The cost of health is extremely expensive. But one thing the NGO have done is to subsidize or to enroll the less privileged into health insurance scheme. By doing that, they can be able to access affordable and free healthcare services. Then, when you have a workforce that have free and affordable healthcare services, what do? It motivates them at work. They are going to put in their effort, and you have improved productivity. When you have improved productivity, it's going to improve the quality of living and is going to contribute to national development, which is crucial. Now, let's talk about community development. Community development is the key. So, like I mentioned, there are a lot of underserved communities, and the NGO has always been bridging the gap. The NGO are always supporting them, but providing them clean and potable water, which is one of the SDGs when we talk about the Sustainable Development Goal. So the NGOs have done a lot. If you look at crisis, in terms of crisis, when people are vulnerable, the NGOs step in to support. That is very crucial. Now, there are peoples whose voice are not being heard. There are peoples who are victims of injustice. The NGO have always stepped in there to support them. The NGO have also been advocacy for good governance and reforms. They have always sit in the table of negotiation with the government. So the NGO has done remarkably well. There are a lot that the NGO is doing to improve the life, especially when we come to the issue of gender inequality. Now we have a strong advocacy for girl-child education, for women inclusiveness, where a lot of NGOs are supporting girl-child education. The common stereotype in the past that said girls are meant to be at home and boys are supposed to go to school is a thing of the past. Why? Because of the advocacy from the non-governmental organizations. So I strongly believe that the NGO are bridging the gap. They are complementing the government efforts. They ensure that they reduce the inequality in the society. And most importantly, they ensure that the objectives of the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, are being achieved.
Let's tilt. I know you've mentioned a lot when it comes to women, the girl child. You've spoken a lot when it comes to gender inequality and all of that. Let's tilt towards youth. How has the NGO contributed in youth empowerment and, of course, entrepreneurship development in Nigeria as we speak?
Okay, that's a very important question. So the NGOs have always been on the forefront of advocating for change, particularly when it comes to youth entrepreneurship, when it comes to empowering our youth to thrive and succeed in the society. Now, if you look at the society today, if you go to remote areas and also urban areas, NGOs have set up different skill acquisition centers. There are trainings that are ongoing by different NGOs to empower our youth, not only in the old generation fashion way of vocational learning, but also for our youth also to compete as the globalization is trending, i.e. innovation. Now, a lot of NGOs are training youth when it comes to renewable energy, solar power system. So they are training them in terms of skills, they are training them in terms of carpentry, they are training them in terms of different vocational learning. But that's not only the case. You don't just train a youth and leave him like that. A lot of NGOs have also taken a step further to train youth about digital marketing, because you can produce all the shoes, you can be able to sew all the dresses, but if your products are not being marketed, you are going to remain in the same place. So the NGOs have always been in the forefront for change. But let me take you back. How does NGO implement most of these projects when it comes to youth? First of all, you can't just embark on a project. You have to identify a problem. Without identifying a problem, whatever you are doing is going in vain. So first of all, the NGO operate on the project cycle system. And what they do is they ensure that, most importantly, they identify the challenge, the problem, and the gap. And how do they do so? They start with need assessment. A need assessment questionnaire is being administered to those youths. And from there, the NGO, they're going to identify the challenges and the problems that the youths are passing through. So from then, they are going to develop what we call a concept note. The concept note will have the objectives, it will have all the resources, the budget, what is being needed. Then a stakeholders engagement will take place, where you actually discuss with different stakeholders, because there are different stakeholders that are involved. The traditional rulers, the community leaders, some of the government institutions. Like in our NGO, we use the government institution to train the youth. So we have to engage the government because they are part of the stakeholders. So what we do from that step now, you have engaged and you have identified the stakeholders. You have a gatekeeper that keep the relationship between you and the youths. Then you have to mobilize resources, which is important. Resource mobilization have to do, maybe if you are training them on computers, you have to mobilize computers, you have to mobilize the centers, you also have to ensure that refreshment is there, because you can't just train somebody for the whole day without refreshment. Then it comes to the implementation and the training. While the training is being done, which is important, you don't just leave them there, all right? After the training, I believe you issue them certificate, you support them with a startup. But most important thing is about monitoring. You have to monitor them, you have to evaluate them, which is important. So at the end of the cycle, then you have a report to write, and the report is about accountability. How the training take place, what are the challenges that you have encountered, there are possible ways to improve the training, what challenges do you encounter, how many youths did you train, what are the various inputs and outputs. Then you have the monitoring and evaluation phases. Most important among that cycle is about impact. And you don't just measure impact immediately. You measure impact after a certain period of time. Now, I'm talking about the monitoring and evaluation. The monitoring stage, okay, you say, okay, I've trained 50 youths, right? 50 youths is just output. But now, when it comes to impact measurement, it takes time. 2 or 3 years, 4, 5, 6, up to 7 years. So how many youths have actually set up their businesses? How many youths have actually improved the way things are being done in the society? How many youths have employed different entrepreneurs to work for them? How many youths have contributed to the national building? We are talking about national building now. So you tend to look at it, look at the impact, and you measure the impact. There are different ways you measure the impact. After a certain time, you administer questionnaire. But like I mentioned earlier, training youth alone when it comes to skill and vocational training is not enough. You have to continue to monitor them. You have to, even if you give them startup grant, you have a monitoring and evaluation officer who goes around to ensure that whatever you are giving them is being used appropriately. You don't just issue computers and somebody will sell off the computers. And the good news is Nigerian youths are hardworking. The number of youths we have trained, they have really shown the zeal. And most of them have ended up training a lot. They have ended up providing job opportunities to the other youths. For instance, they are a typical example, because when we talk about project cycle, you need to look for success stories under monitoring and evaluation. And one of the success stories from our NGO is where we train somebody and the person is physically challenged on a skill acquisition into computing and printing. And today he's employing people. He has people that he sends around. When you buy new chairs and you donate it to schools or church, you send those his boys, they will go and write the name donated by this and you pay them. He has people that is employing for printing and photocopying. And then we also train a young lady when it comes to hairdressing fashion. And today she has employed more than 5 people in the community. That is not also enough. You also need to train youth when it comes to citizenship education, which is important, and a lot of NGOs are doing that. You train youth about leadership. Now, we have a leadership program. And before we set up that program, we identify the problems and challenges. So, in NGO, you have to be focused. You know, your aim have to be smart. It have to be specific. You can't actually address the whole issues and problems. So we set up a program in a particular demography. And while we set up that program, we find out that in that particular demography, most of the youth ended up in college of education, possibly because, that is the only thing that motivates them. So how are we going to address this issue? Because in another community, you have engineers, you have pilots, you have lawyers, and in this community, you only have people who are NC holders. So we need to bridge this gap. And how do we bridge this gap? It's not a day's job. So we designed a leadership and mentorship program that by the end of, let's say, 2030, we should be able to have X number of doctors, X number of lawyers.
You have a target.
We have a target, because we don't just embark on a project. We have our aims, we have our objective, we have the problem statement, which is a very important thing.
Yes, exactly.
So the problem statement here is the youth themselves, they ended up just in college of education, which affect their employability. They have a high number of unemployed youths.
Very true.
So then we set up this program. We call for mentorship. And we have a lot of mentors that mentor them from different sectors. We now say, okay, we are going to offer them scholarship. Now we offer some of them sponsorship, and we are trying to set up a digital also training center, because JAM today is digital. WAEC will soon go digital. So you need to train them on digital skills so that when they are going to write JAM, they will be able to compete with their peers. And now the project is just at initial phase. We hope that by 2030, we should be able to have a large number of doctors, a large number of lawyers in that particular community. And a lot of remarkable NGOs have been engaged in that. You look at the Tony Elemelu Foundation, they are doing remarkably well.
Yes,
they have empowered thousands of youths, which is highly remarkable. You have different NGOs, Ford Foundation, MasterCard Foundation, they are doing remarkably well. So the role of NGOs when it comes to youth development and entrepreneurship cannot be underestimated, because they empower them, they provide them with the environment to strive and succeed. They also ensure that they follow up, they provide them with the skills for them to be able to market themselves, because there's one thing about you being able to innovate, there's another thing for you to be able to become an entrepreneur.
Very important.
There are two different things entirely. So the NGOs have been doing that, and to be honest, the NGOs have done remarkably well. The NGOs have helped to address the issue of poverty. So let's ask a simple question. If NGOs do not exist, where are we going to be? Because the government alone cannot cater for all the needs of the earth. So the NGOs, for me, they are catalysts of transformation in the society.
All right, Dr. Caleb, let me ask a question now. A lot of people use NGO as a breeding ground for corruption in Nigeria. I've had a first-hand experience of one. As we speak, the person in question is in custody. Now, why do we have people, all right, who turn this thing? You've spoken beautifully well, national development, empowerment, job creation, and everything. But we still have people, all right, who use the umbrella of NGO to extort Nigerians that people like you are trying to help. So how do we remedy this? Because it is a stain for people who are doing well, and it is a reduction in what we are trying to build as a nation.
Okay, that's a very important question. So in every society that we live today, is not, you don't find perfect people in the society. There are still some element of people who can cause trouble here and there. There are also element of people who are not sincere. Even if you look at the religious perspective, you still have different kind of people. However, I will speak from my own perspective, and if you are going into NGO, you should be able to have credibility. You should be able to have accountability. And most important thing, credibility and accountability goes a long way. Now, the government have put in a lot of mechanism in place. Now, for you to establish an NGO, it's not just a church and bell NGO, right? The NGO must be registered, which is very important. You must have certificate of incorporation. And most time you have to go through the Economic and Financial Crime Commission to get a Scrum certificate. However, still, like you mentioned, some NGOs use it as breeding ground. I'm happy you say some.
Yeah,
you should have limit it to few, very, very few, unquantifiable. Because majority of the NGOs, they have good hearts.
Yes, they
now, we have different types of NGOs. We have the traditional NGOs and we also have the NGOs that have moved away from the traditional NGOs. The traditional NGOs are basically philanthropies that have all the resources and they are willing to give out. Now, you don't teach people how to fish, you just give them fish. You just support them generally. So then we have some NGOs that move beyond that, where you train people, you teach them how to fish in terms of entrepreneurship. But when you mention about the issue of corruption, yes, well, the data might be there, like you mentioned, but I'm speaking from the credible NGOs. I'm speaking from NGOs who have credibility and accountability, because one thing is your word is your bond. If you extol the public, definitely for personal gain, then you are no longer running an NGO. You are no longer running a charity, because it's charity, you are giving back to the society. You are not supposed to collect it from society and enrich yourself. But most of the creditable NGOs that I know, most of the philanthropists, they even use their hard-earned money to support the society. They don't extort. But like I mentioned earlier, you have small pockets of criminals in different society that you found themselves. These are people who set up NGO. Most likely, for one reason or the other, they don't even have passion for it, because number one is, for you to go into non-profit space, you must have passion for something. You can't just jump into it and say, oh, because Master A has an NGO, or I also own an NGO. Because Master A is into farming, I should also go into farming. Everybody has his calling. So you must have passion for it.
Exactly.
I founded my NGO out of passion to support humanity and not to be a corrupt person or whatever it is, or exploit people. So number one is, those people, maybe they don't have passion. They have their own reason or the other, and if you look at them, they are not operating openly. You don't find them as credible organizations. There are different networks for NGOs, there are philanthropist organizations. There are also courses that can also help you. Even if you have the passion but you don't know how to go about it, there's also mentors that will mentor you. When I set up my NGO, I look onto people that are mentors and they guide me through. When you are applying for grant today, you should be able to use the grant for a specific purpose that is meant to be used. That is why I mentioned about reporting in my earlier statement. You need to report whatever has taken place, all the activities, the way you spend your finance. And most of those NGOs that you say they are corrupt today, most of them don't even have annual reports, or they don't even have...
they don't report to anyone, they report to themselves.
Oh, exactly. So those are no transparency, no accountability. Okay. So I can't speak on behalf of those people.
Just like
those are not
government. But doctor, there have been a lot of forth and back as it has to do with government support, one, international organization support. A lot of NGOs folded up, all right, after the United States withdrew a lot of aid, and Donald Trump seems not to be holding back until now as we speak. We just had recently, and some people were lamenting, all right, what will happen to people who have malaria, people who are HIV patients and all of that because of the withdrawal of this aid? What impact do you think this could make, if not on your own NGO, but on other NGOs in Nigeria that work in partnership, collaboration with these international organizations, the impact on Nigerians?
Okay, that's a very important question. There has been issues of funding. Let me take you back. There are challenges in every organization. And the NGO also is not the exception. There are challenges when it comes to our NGOs. And one of the biggest challenges is funding. Because I want to do X, Y, Z, but I don't have the money. Another challenge have to do, we mentioned about transparency and accountability, policies and government procedures in different countries. We also look at insecurity and lack of infrastructure in some areas, because some NGOs might want to partner with this local community, but there is no means to move into those communities. You might want to train young people when it comes to digital literacy, but there is no infrastructure to train them, and you are being constrained. So one of the biggest challenges of NGOs today is about you are constrained by resources, funding. The volunteers are always there, which is very important, and also some policies, like you mentioned, the policy that withdraw a lot of funding. Yes, it's going to have a huge impact when it comes to a lot of non-governmental organizations that depend or partner with those particular organizations for grant. Is going to have a huge impact on the end users, which is crucial. But above all, we have to think ahead. We have to be creative to see how we can be able to address this issue. If you have a problem today, you have to go back to basics. You have to go back to drawing board. You have to think critically. Okay, we have this problem on ground. How am I going to address this problem? And you, as the founder of the foundation, cannot do that alone. You need your team members. You need to sit down as a team, because it's a team playing game. Everybody has a sense of ownership. You need to re-strategize. You have a 5-year plan, and in every NGO there is a risk. In your plan, you have what are the risks that you encounter, and how do you mitigate those risks? And one of the risks is funding. What if the founder today decide not to fund you? You have it in your document how to mitigate those risks, how to seek for alternatives, which is very important. So most of the NGOs, I strongly believe, they have all those documents. You must be able to anticipate the risks that is going to happen in the future. You should be able to put all the mechanism in place. But above all, we need to be creative. We need to go back to basics. We need to find ways in which we can fund our organization. We need to have a sustainable plan on ground, which is important. Sometimes, what if the founder dies? Does the NGO end? There must be a sustainable plan on to sustain that NGO. Some NGOs have lived more than 150 and 200 years. So sustainability is the key. We have to look at alternatives, even though it's going to have a negative impact, but it's something that you pick up. Challenges happen every day, but we must be able to move on to the next stage. We must be able to look at how are we going to fund this project. Sometimes you must streamline your project activities. You might reduce the workforce. If you are maybe supporting 1,000 people when it comes to health insurance, and you don't have the resources and means of getting the resources, you have to do it within your means, which is very important. You have to review your budget. You have to review your operating expenses, which is very important. So there are different things that you have to put in place. You have to start to look for other alternatives. There are also other countries. There are other embassies. There are also government-funded projects that can support you. So it's not only the United States. There are other places. MasterCard Foundation are helping. Tony Lemelu Foundation is there. They are all doing great. So it's very important. You have to look for alternatives. You have to brainstorm with your team, because your thinking might be broad. Because when it happens now, for instance, they say, okay, the United States have withdrawn aid and support. Mm-hmm. The first thing the brain will think is, oh, how do I support? Oh, my NGO is going down. Mm-hmm. I can't fund this project. No, the brain tends to tilt towards solution when there's a problem. But that's not the case. You need to sit down and go back to the drawing board to find out what are the problems. How are we going to address this problem? Do we have alternative means? You speak with your teams. Carry everyone alone. People will come in, because decision making is a process and not an event. If you treat decision making as an event, you are going to end up not having anything done. So you look at it as a process. Get everyone involved, and I strongly believe you are going to achieve a result. Now, for the government are doing well. Now, when somebody gives you something, you appreciate him, right? Whether he gives you a lift in the car, whether he supports you financially, whether he encourages you in terms of grief, you also have to appreciate him. Now, for me, in my NGO, I have to appreciate the government, because I train teachers when it comes to digital literacy. And the government, they provided me with a hall for free. I trained them in a particular village, and the Anglican diocese of that community provided me with hall and computers for free. That's areas of collaboration. It must not be finance. It must not be finance, which is important. Infrastructure is the key. Now I'm going to train another 200 teachers next week in Kaduna State. And the Kaduna State government have also provided me with an enabling environment. They have smart schools, so it means that I don't need to pay anything when it comes to power. I don't need to pay anything when it comes to internet connectivity. Wow. I don't need to bring in computers. The projector is there. So the government have also supported
That is Kaduna
NGOs.
State government.
That's Kaduna State government. Kaduna State government also have skills acquisition centers that they have built. And definitely I believe the NGO can also leverage on it to train people on those centers. Now there are incubation centers that the government have built, even in FCT. All you need is to go and get trained over there. In incubation center, they teach you what certification do you need to set up business. How do you move? How do you become an entrepreneur? So I strongly believe that we need government in as much as we need those foreign funded donors. Because what it means then is I'm not going to spend money on internet. I'm not going to spend money on electricity, which is huge. When it comes to operating costs, that's where you spend more. The government don't have to give me money cash, or they don't have to support me financially, but by providing the enabling environment. For instance, in December period, I was distributing food items to 1,000 widows, and the government provided security for me. Because without security, you have issues of collaboration. Of course, collaboration is the key.
Seamlessly, right?
Yes, seamlessly.
Because
our approach now, I don't pay money for anything. This is transparent, right? Now, I have a project to train students on STEM, and I don't have laboratories. I've written to a government agency, and they have called me for a meeting. How do we collaborate? So we have to look at innovative way of doing things, which is very important and which is the key today.
But I want to ask, so for as much as the government comes in by the side, because I'll call it by the side because you make the calls and then they come in to see in what areas they can support. I know most Nigerians, especially the youth, with this present administration, they will say this administration is not doing anything. How can there be a collective joint effort between NGOs? Your NGO is doing fantastic, by the way, and the government coming on a round table, sitting down, so that people in the society will understand that the government is part and parcel of this particular input for sustainable development in Nigeria?
Okay, that's a very important question. So even the government at every level, down to state level, you have special advisors on NGOs and social works. So most of them has advisors that advise them when it comes to non-governmental organization, and a lot of them. So for me, regarding the youth speaking XYZ, I cannot be able to comment on that because I don't operate in the political landscape. I operate on the non-profit space. But for me, I think how government can bridge is practically collaboration and partnership.
Very important.
Yeah. So the government also must collaborate with the NGOs to ensure that the aim of training our youths are being achieved. Nigeria is blessed. We have a high number of youths. Over 70% of Nigerian youths are below the age of 25. So that is a huge demography. So, and if we leverage on skill acquisition, we will leverage on supporting these youths. Definitely we will have youths that are going to be assets rather than liability. So my advice is for government to collaborate with private sectors. They must collaborate with non-governmental sectors to ensure that most of the challenges in the communities are being addressed. We cannot shy away from the truth that there's high number of unemployment. That's the truth.
That's true.
So what the government needs to do is, and they have been doing it, so it's not like it's something that has to be continuous and continuous. So they need to collaborate with the NGOs to train most of these youth in innovation. Degree alone is not a prerequisite for you to have a job. But somebody who has his own skills will go far a long way than somebody who just have a degree. Because if you have a degree today and you don't get jobs, somebody who has his skills and he can be able to install solar panel, he will be able to get job faster done than you do. But that being said, that our youths are innovative, our youths are hardworking.
Yes, they are.
Nigerian youths are very hardworking.
I want to ask a question, just one more question before we wrap it up on the program. What has actually kept your particular NGO afloat despite all odds? What has given you that morale that you still stand firm in giving back to humanity?
For me, when I started, I have a target. And then I make sure that even though when I'm having challenges, I still keep to my goal. I ensure that I'm not being distracted. You have to be focused. You know what you want. If the funding is not there, I look at other means of doing things. I.e., instead of donating, I move into seminars to address the issue of financial literacy. I give you an example. I spoke with one of my friends. Okay, every year, annually, I donate fertilizers to women. However, the price of fertilizers has gone high, and then I don't have the resources because I fund the NGO myself. So how do I address this issue? I said, okay, I'm going to train women when it comes to financial literacy and modern day farming. And then whenever they come off, there's going to be a stipend I'm going to give them that's going to help them. So there's also always a way I innovate how to do things. For instance, now I look at STEM education in primary school, but the foundation has to be with teachers. That's why I'm training teachers.
Okay.
And the most important thing is sustainability. In everything I do, I have a backup plan, so that when it fails, I fall back to my plan B. I don't just stick to plan A. I'm not a leader who is stiff, no. And then my volunteers have always been my backbone. The volunteers have been amazing. They have been supporting me. They've been guiding me. In short, if we write a concept note, the program manager write a concept note, I share with the volunteer, okay, put in your input, which is important. And it's important to note, I don't only have volunteers in Nigeria, I have volunteers across. For example, now the climate change and tree planting campaign, the person spearheading it, she's in Kenya. So what I do is I give all my volunteers sense of ownership. I allow them to pick projects
to explore.
And I have volunteers also in Kaduna, very, very hardworking volunteers. My media volunteers are there. You know, whatever we do, they make sure that the visibility is there. How do you convey your message to the audience is very important. And those my volunteers are doing remarkably well.
All right, Doctor, it's been a very wonderful time talking with you today. It's been a time to discuss sustainable Nigeria, and it's been with Dr. Caleb Danladi, who is the founder of Caleb Danladi Foundation. Thank you very much for joining us on Global Morning today.
Thank you for being a part of the program. Thank you.
We'll have you again. All right, everyone. It's now time for us to get into the second conversation for you today as we look at corruption in governance and how it can be mitigated walking into 2027 as the electioneering season is about to get started with the campaigns coming up in August. We will return with that conversation after this break. Stay with us.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Usoro.
On global television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust our multi-platform news broadcast real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
One of the things that are sitting deeply into the fabric of the society and even our nation is corruption. Corruption in different facets, in different levels, at different categories. But today, I want to look at political corruption, its impact on governance, and of course, the Nigerians themselves. Remember, we are about getting into the electioneering period. The campaign's about to get started in August, just a few days from today. Some people who have been accused of one or two irregularities as it has to do with governance given back to the societies and people that voted them into office will be coming back again to tell Nigerians a lot of stories. A lot of promises will be coming the way of Nigerians, the electorate ahead of 2027. But today, we will have a conversation around political corruption, its impact on governance and national development, which is paramount. And today, we have an activist, a human rights activist, join us on the program, a right activist and a public and political affairs analyst in the person of Comrade Kashi Gerard. It's good to have you join us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
It's been a while.
Good morning. Yes, it's been a while indeed.
Yes.
It's been a while. Last time we spoke was via Google Meet.
Yes. Yes.
I was on a trip then.
Yes, exactly.
Of course, was going to the west, then I stopped over at Ondo, then we connect.
Yes, for the elections. All right, it's good to have you here today. Now let's get into the conversation. Political corruption. Is it, sometimes I look at some words, all right, as in target words. A lot of Nigerians believe that our politicians, at the moment you tell somebody you're a politician, there's a way they look at you. The first thing that comes to their mind is corruption. Why is it like that?
You see, corruption is not something that you can, single-handedly or put it that is a politically inclined thing. It's something that affects every sector of our life. It happens in every area of our life, whether religion, at home, school, wherever. So, but then, we are people that specializes at pushing blames. Nobody wants to take a responsibility. So it's easier to target politicians with regards when it comes to corruption. But if you look at it, the reality.com we are facing today is that corruption has eaten the fabrics of every essential existence of our life. There's no sector you can mention you not find elements of corruption, deep in it. You go to religion, you go to unions, you go to association, just name it. Schools, both private and public schools.
But what are the major causes of political corruption? What is that trigger that just prompts it and it just raises up its ugly head?
One of the major things that triggers political corruption is greed. Aside greed, there are these pressures that follows whenever you identify to offer services. There are things that follow suit, and sometimes if you are not disciplined, such pressures can force one into doing certain things that you're not supposed to do. For example, I am in the race for 2027 from my state to run for Senate. From the time I declared to my people and went home, I have had a series of calls, even people that I don't know. I will not say that I don't know them, but because they are in my constituency. If anything happens, you will see call. Somebody have died. This person have not eaten. just because you offer yourself to serve. You understand? So it's one of those things that fuels making people just to meet up, to be acceptable, to have good record or reports. These are some of the things. If you are not responding to those demands, if I may put it, you start seeing comparisons. You understand? In most cases, they don't compare with regards to good things. They begin to compare you. Certain person is doing A, B, C, D. You are expected to do X, Y, Z. And if you are not, it appears like you are not in tune with reality. And of course, from the background where I come from, we don't indulge in that kind of things. So, political corruption comes with pressure, greed, attempts to, because Nigerian politics today is majorly driven by finance. If you don't have what it takes, especially finance, you may have the capacity, the competence, all the necessary tools that takes good leadership. But maybe you are not the type that, don't give shishi, because I believe in don't give shishi. You are not the type that maybe on election day you begin to buy votes or indulge in intimidation, harassment, and what have you. You struggle a lot. So I think it's driven by the people. If we as a people and decide today that political corruption must end, it will end. How do I mean? You recall in 2024, many of us gathered and said we must end bad governance in form of protests. And certain citizens, that believe that good governance is a right, encouraged from the comfort of their homes, using their powers, their smartphones, whatever gadgets, they we are supporting via media, social media. But coming out on the particular day to establish that we are tired of bad governance, we didn't get the numbers that we needed. And when some of our comrades were arrested indiscriminately, including minors, and we are put together, we expected their resistance because they were fighting for the good of our people. But we didn't see. The only resistance that came was nature. That nature is a form of karma. The children that were placed, instead of putting them in juvenile, that's part of the political corruption, they put them together with adults. And they brought them to court to prosecute them for treason and possible treason, because they were claiming that they want to take over government and so many other things that they vandalized, other things. They brought them to court malnourished, without clothes, without footwears, and you see lawyers giving them biscuits, and they were rushing it in most, inhuman, even if in the war-torn countries that you begin to face kwashiorkor, you see the way they were rushing those cracker biscuits. Some lawyers that couldn't manage the emotion started crying. The judge had to excuse himself to his chamber. That particular day, they granted a bail unconditionally. And the people that we are supposed to be in solidarity suddenly find their voice on social media. And you see that's element of political corruption. Some state governors launch on it. So uniform for them to receive them. Start giving the ones that are sent to different states phones and what have you. So when we talk about political corruption, I think it starts with we, the people. If we must even though there are no zero all over the world, you can't have a zero corruption in any society. But we have to get to a certain minimum. Starting with the strengthening of institutions of government without interference or influence. not because this person is highly connected to the presidency, you can't probe him. Look at the case of PFI-CP and the PFI-PC that we are facing today. A lot of names have been mentioned. But so far, to the best of our knowledge, to the public knowledge, is only one person that has been arrested.
Yes.
The DG. The DG. And you know that if one finger touches oil, certainly the whole fingers will be
stained.
They will be stained with oil. So if the person that they have arrested have mentioned names, why don't you carry out the same treatment? So it becomes that in some cases you are treating them with deodorant and fragrance. The other ones you are treating them with insecticide. How then do you tackle political corruption?
You know, you mentioned something. You said political corruption starts with we, the people.
Yes.
How can it start with people that don't even understand the stringent or what leads to political corruption in the first place? Because our attitude might seem right, but we do not understand that it is political corruption. So what awareness should be given, or what lineup should an individual know as a citizen, as a patriotic citizen in Nigeria, to understand that, okay, the way where you are tilting towards is political corruption and can affect something very important in the nation?
You see, very unfortunate that realities we have today is that our political leadership, you know, in order to maintain a certain narratives and continue to hold sway to power and whatever they are doing, they try to, you know, dive into divide and rule system, either through ethnicity, tribe, religion, etc., etc. When I say the we, that doesn't mean that our people are having sufficient knowledge of their civic rights, or maybe we have complete inadequacy of civic education with regards to right of citizens and what citizens are expected to do. But because we have gone down the lane with regards to divide and rule that ruling class have established, we find ourselves today where there's competition with regards to political corruption. If, as a political leader, you are not doing, your people begin to question you. They see looting in form of a national cake. That is why in Nigeria, they can indict somebody they say is our person. He loot our money. What's your business? People that may be cleared here may go abroad. They get indicted. That does not mean that as of today, there have been a lot of indictments with regards to current political leaderships. Don't forget, it was under this APC administration, with regards to late General Muhammad Buhari, retired, former president, that we have a global Yahoo of the century. When we have one minister in the name of Hadi Sereka. Yes, now, it's a public thing that brought aeroplane from only God knows where. And did us, the more you look, the less you see. It was under the same administration. Somebody claimed that he was feeding school children and missed lockdown with regards to COVID-19. It was under the same administration. They carried rice pyramid and do us abracadabra. If not for the intervention of the current administration that begin to reveal some of these things, including the CBN governor that suffered Nigerians, if maybe he had continued that trajectory, you know, trying to protect political, or maybe those ones did not, you know, begin to, maybe they pledged their loyalty. Maybe some of the revelations we are getting today will not. Persons like Malami, if maybe he was close to the government and the pledged loyalty, maybe some of the things that are being revealed today will not see it. So it was under the same political class that we see this kind of things. But we, from the left angle of the society, as right activists, as analysts, while they were still sitting, while they were still holding to power, we were shouting, raising our voices. At a point, we are being called anarchists. Different names we are known. Maybe they say we will never mean well for the society, for the country or the government. But all the things that we complain has come to reality today. And now we have this current government now. Different things are going on. First, our president announced removal of fuel subsidy on May 29, 2023, and saying fuel subsidy is gone. Between 1999 to 2023, all the previous governments ensured fuel subsidy. They borrowed money, yes. They paid salary, yes. They defended Naira, yes. They subsidized energy sector, yes. All of this. And in all their borrowing, they did not even borrow up to more than 125 trillion. If you subtract only Yaradua, the rest is about 20 years. And this government in power today, only 3 years, has borrowed more than them, yet we are not having subsidy. We are not defending the Naira. We are not subsidizing energy. These are part of the elements of political corruption we are talking about. If you talk, they will tell us that they are doing infrastructure. Yes, we are seeing the roads. But those ones that borrow to do all of this and sustain the lives of Nigerians also build their roads. They build railways. They build bridges. They carry out a lot of programs that touch people, including Empower, You Win, Shopee, etc., etc. Depending on the one you can remember. So, how else do you clear political corruption?
But this administration also have some of those activities too, like Nel Fund, what State Fund is doing, and the rest of it. Just like we had Shopee and the rest. Even though the school feeding program that was not sustainable that you talked about. So don't you think this administration are also doing their part? Because every administration come with their own reform activities.
Ramsey, you see, it's good to even deceive the learned or the educated with grammar. If we are to face reality.com, do you compare the impact of Nel Fund to maybe Empower? Let's start the same like APC government. Nel Fund say, I will give you money to finish your education, you will pay upon graduation. Empower is enrolling unemployed people and maybe giving them maybe minimum wage or whatever it is without them paying back. Do you compare the two?
What about the impact, the sustainability?
That's what I'm saying now.
Do we have results?
So, okay, let's even come to the impact. If you begin to place it on percentage, Nigeria today is about 200 million persons. And over 60% of that population are youth. And when we talk about that youth, say 60% of 200 million Nigerians is over 120 plus. And then we can just roughly say half of that population are students. So if we place that student both in the private sector, technical schools, everywhere, just put it roughly 40 million out of the, or say 35 million out of the over 230 million or whatever we have. And you come to know for what the record they have is 1 point something. And they are going to town and shouting that they have achieved.
Out of 20 million.
Out of over 40 million.
About 40 million.
So use your tongue and count your teeth. Just like when they were telling us, I've forgotten that program the same APC government brought, that they were paying poorest of the poor.
Okay.
Not anchor borrowers. I'm trying to, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Nigeria.
CBN said they were paying poorest of the poor. They pay over 10 million Nigerians. Nigerians ask, do you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that have collected? I'm not saying it should come from my family, because in every community, in every family, there is a poor person. No matter how rich the person is. If you go to Dangote community, you will see poor people there. So even if it's not coming to the family, let it be that in the street where you live, I know somebody that knows somebody that have collected the money. That's when we are doing that. You didn't just enter Nigeria. At least you have been in Nigeria the past 10 years. Did you know anybody from, even as you are meeting different people, doing your work, your own contribution to nation building, have you interfaced, not even knowing the people that call that, somebody that knows that he knows somebody that knows somebody that have collected?
Maybe he has not asked or done his investigation. But let's move past that. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that, yeah, it's very possible that you have not even
I didn't take it. You can do that investigative journalism.
But let me
not only everybody, yeah.
Yes, we should. But let me ask you a very, just putting you on the spot a little bit, Mr. Kachi. Now, do you think that this government is doing a lot more than people think? But the people around are not promoting and saying all what this government is doing. Because I will tell you for free that there are a lot when it comes to various reforms that are very beneficial to the average Nigerian.
Like what and what?
Look at, for instance, now let's talk about affirmative procurement now. I always say that because it has to do with every other person when it comes to veterans, people with disabilities, your youth, women-owned business, women-led business. So they're teaching them how to bid government contracts. That's number one. And looking at it,
but not how to fry a karakulikuli.
That is not what she meant. That's the thing.
Okay.
She meant what? You see, that's the thing. I don't want to delve into that.
Okay.
It didn't mean that an average bodybuilder Nigerian will learn how to fry a karakulikuli. No. She was only saying that with as little as that, you can actually start up something for yourself. And let me finish, Mr. Kati. You've been talking since, and it will grow. But you know how we are as Nigerians. Once we feel that there's something, and we always twist and turn. But I'm not holding brief for the president.
It's not too short twisting.
But let me just finish quickly, Mr. Kachi. But I'm saying, is it possible that there are so many beneficial policies that are in place, that are put together, that this present administration is doing, that you and I do not know about it, because the people surrounding them at this point are not giving the right information to individuals, like the governors or the councillors,
the appointees, the ministers
that are there. But there are so many reforms that are happening that this present administration have done that are beneficial to you and I, but we are unaware of. Don't you think so?
Yes, well, there's no situation that is entirely bad. Every government organization have its own good and its own bad. Just like every individual, there are areas that you can be marked good, there are areas you can be marked bad. But then when you put it together, you weigh the two. It's simple as that. So it doesn't mean that outrightly the government is entirely bad. It's not possible that even if you go to a class and they teach you for entire term or semester, you cannot be able to write your name. Only the ability to write your name covers a particular mark. So when we begin to talk about they are doing a lot of things, this and that, I begin to ask myself from where and based on what categories are you putting it. Let me tell you, my sister, we are in July 2026. From inception of this government, 2023, 2024, except as at last 2 months about, we have been told that they have stopped, they have finished 2023. We have 3 budgets running on concurrently. 3 budgets. 2026, we have not started implementing it. This is the 7th month. So what are the yardsticks you measure success if you come in terms of that? Let me tell you, my sister, 2026 budget was benchmark around 60 to 60, between 60, 62, 65 dollar per crude. And we are selling above $100 per crude as a result of what in the Middle East. Meaning that we have excess. Amidst that excess, we are still borrowing. Or are we going to pretend that we are not aware of that? Let me also inform you, in 2025 to even first quarter of 2026, many generating revenues, agency that generates revenue from custom to FIRS that is now changed to FRS or thereabout, and many others, announced that they have overachieved their target. Meaning that if their target is to get maybe 1 billion, they are getting over 5 billion and plus. Amidst those surplus, my sister, we are still borrowing. Just hardly any month you will not hear borrowing. Okay, now let's come into the budget. Are you aware that many ministries that do not have any business with regards to construction, we are captured in the budget, including the ones that are not supposed to build religious structures? We are captured in the budget to maintain worship centers. Where are you going to start? If not that disagreement with regards to Prince Adeyemi or Adeniyi or what's his name? Adeyemi probably will not hear what is happening. If maybe he played to his own card, according to him, probably we will not know that these kind of things are happening until when this government leaves office and another government comes in. So it's not issue that maybe they are doing something good or they are not doing something good. They are actually, in fact, let me give you one of the thumbs up you didn't even present here. Issue of corruption fight, which is what we are treating today. We have seen recent recoveries from ESCC and ICPC. What they have recovered from Ajumogu, Malami, I think Emefele, and the rest. It's something we give them thumbs up. Personally, I give them thumbs up. But in a room that you are doing a lot of times, you see there's a plenty room for improvement. We will continue to push for it.
But even though you're talking about the seizure of this asset, the forfeiture of this asset, some people are still questioning that we've seen a lot of forfeiture of assets, but we don't know what happened to those assets at the end of the day. And that leads to looting the looted, as some people have tagged it in Nigeria. So are we not still talking about ignoring governance and focusing on corruption? Is that not part of corruption? Even though we say this administration has done well, is there not supposed to be spelled out how these forfeited assets are going to be managed?
You know, every organization has its own act, like EFCC. And I must say that under this current EFCC leadership, I have even forgotten the name of their chairman. There have been some elements of work he has done that we can give him thumbs up. Recently, earlier this month or last month, I watched via media where he handed over some properties and cash to Minister of Education to support what they are doing there, and he's going about doing similar things. So it's a welcome development if we can recover these forfeited things and make sure we are putting it in ABCD. For example, you mentioned NEFON as part of the achievement of this administration, and in the NEFON, and if you look at aggregate of students we have in Nigeria, and they are above 20 million, and so far you have been able to cover 1 point something, it means that you have not really done anything. So if they can move all the funds they have recovered into education, it will make a lot of sense. So let's partner as we recover these loots, recover from other sources, including internet fraudsters. Monies we are recovering, we will put it into this place. By doing that, it will, create more accountability and transparency. It will no longer be where every year you are putting those particular agencies into the Nigerian budget, that at the end of the day, when they go through the process of screening either at the National Assembly, you start seeing padding, and languages that really, are worrisome. So that is what I think. If we can channel our energy in whatever we recover to a particular project, so that tomorrow if you are asked the recover loot, what did you do with it? Just like the coastal road that President is building. Instead of borrowing money or putting in the budget, let us okay, every money we recover is put in that place.
All right, thank you very much. I wish we could continue because I still wanted to ask some questions about governance and national development, and I wanted to refer back to the governors who are preparing to return and what they've done with our FAC allocations, but then we don't have all the time. Maybe we'll need to invite you again so that we can even look at inhumane treatment of people in governance on the electorate who we can't talk about that. Our time is up.
Of course, you know that the last of Osun State is preparing for election in a couple of weeks from now, and the issues that they are facing there with regards to people's grabbing people.
Our time is up. We can't really talk about it. Well, everyone, this is the size of the conversation today with Kashi O. Gerard. He's an activist, right activist, and public and political affairs analyst. Thank you for joining us on the conversation.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We want to say thank you to everyone for being part of Global Morning today. The view of our guests is entirely theirs and not that of Global Television. And we want to say very big thank you for watching Global Morning today. We'll return again with a wonderful edition tomorrow. My name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo.
And I am Jumai Manson. Thank you so much, Kachi Gerard, for being a part of the program.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for your wheels of knowledge and your input on these discussions. Have an amazing day ahead. Bye-bye.